Welcome to episode 19 of Project 250, a weekly chronicle of the people, places, and events of the American Revolution in the order they occurred. So, without further ado, here's what was happening 250 years ago this week, May 11th to 17th, 1775. Reviewing the events of last week, we began on a high note when George Washington left Mount Vernon for Philadelphia to attend the Second Continental Congress. The following day, on May 5th, Benjamin Franklin returned to Philadelphia from England. By the end of the week, Benedict, Arnold, and Ethan Allen successfully captured Fort Ticonderoga during the early morning hours of May 10th. On the same day, the Second Continental Congress convened in Philadelphia and chose Peyton Randolph as its president. Turning to the events of this week, we begin in Savannah, Georgia, where local members of the Sons of Liberty, led by future Postmaster General Joseph Habersham, broke into the city's powder magazine. They removed the powder, divided it with revolutionaries from South Carolina, and sent some to assist the Patriot forces at Boston. On the same day at Fort Ticonderoga, Ethan Allen sent a small force to capture Fort George, located south of Ticonderoga at nearby Lake George, which, being held by only 2 soldiers, was taken without a fight. On May 12th, Ethan Allen wrote to Governor Jonathan Trumbull, Jr. of Connecticut, informing him of the capture of Fort Ticonderoga. Allen also sent several captured officers, including a major, a captain, and 2 lieutenants, to Hartford to be used as ransom in exchange for American POWs. On the same day, a small detachment of Green Mountain Boys, led by Lieutenant Colonel Seth Warner, successfully captured an uncompleted fort known as Crown Point, located approximately 10 miles north of Ticonderoga. Having a garrison of only 9 men, 1 sergeant, and 8 privates, Crown Point fell with almost no resistance. The Americans captured the entire 9-man garrison, along with 10 women and children and several cannon. Meanwhile, Benedict Arnold, no doubt frustrated at his lack of recognized command authority and having little else to do, spent the next few days cataloging the supplies and equipment captured at Ticonderoga and Crown Point. For someone as ambitious as Arnold, this task must have felt like sheer drudgery. On May 13th, Arnold's mood likely improved when Captain John Brown and Captain Eleazar Oswald arrived in a small captured schooner, the HMS Catherine, which Arnold renamed the Liberty. Brown and Oswald also brought several bateaux that had been captured at Skenesboro. To top it off, Brown and Oswald also brought with them 50 new recruits they had enlisted along the way. According to British prisoners, the only sizable British warship on Lake Champlain was stationed at Fort St. John's, another neglected British outpost located north of the Canadian border along the Richelieu River. Meanwhile, in Philadelphia, Lyman Hall, from Georgia, was admitted as a delegate to the Continental Congress. It bears noting, however, that Delegate Hall represented the parish of St. John's, which was located in Georgia, but not the colony of Georgia itself. On May 14th, at Fort Ticonderoga, Benedict Arnold gathered a group of 50 men along with a captured schooner, the Liberty, then launched a raid against Fort St. John's in an attempt to capture the British warship stationed there. Unwilling to allow Arnold to get all of the credit, Ethan Allen followed with about 60 men and bateaux. However, being under sail, Arnold's flotilla soon outpaced Allen's group. Also on May 14th, one of the war's first naval battles took place when a small force from Fairhaven, Massachusetts, led by Captains Nathaniel Pope and Daniel Augury, captured 2 British sloops and their crews at what became known as the Battle of Buzzards Bay, located off the coast of Fairhaven. On May 16th, in western Pennsylvania, residents of the frontier settlement of Hannistown, located east of Pittsburgh along the old Forbes Trail, alarmed by the news of Lexington and Concord, gathered at a local watering hole called Hannah's Tavern, which also served as the county courthouse, where they signed the Hannistown Resolves, which stated
that the Parliament of Great Britain, by several late acts, have declared the inhabitants of Massachusetts bade to be in rebellion, and the ministry, by endeavoring to enforce those acts, have attempted to reduce the said inhabitants to a more wretched state of slavery than ever before existed in any state or country.
Furthermore, it was the indispensable duty of every American to resist and oppose the execution of these acts by every means which God has put in his power. Despite this strong language, the citizens of Hannistown declared themselves loyal to King George III, whom we acknowledge to be our lawful and rightful king, and who we wish may long be the beloved sovereign. By May 17th, the same date that the Continental Congress placed a ban on trade with Canada, Arnold's fleet had reached the northern end of Lake Champlain, where a scout reported that British reinforcements were already on the way to St. John's. Arnold decided to attack immediately, taking the small British garrison. Some sources say it had 15 men, while others say as few as 13, completely by surprise. Arnold captured the fort and its garrison along with the warship, renamed the Enterprise, which was armed with 2 brass 6-pounders and a crew of 7. Arnold's men also captured 9 bateaux. Having been warned by their captives that reinforcements from Chambly, about 200 in all, were expected at any time, Arnold's men loaded the more valuable military stores and cannons onto the newly rechristened Enterprise. They then destroyed 5 of the bateaux and set sail for Crown Point with the remaining bateaux, the Enterprise and the Liberty. Arnold's troops then headed back to Crown Point with their prisoners in tow. Along the way, Arnold met up with Ethan Allen, who chose to ignore Arnold's advice and proceeded on to St. John's, confident that he could hold the fort. Finally this week, also on May 17th, the 4th New Hampshire Provincial Congress met to enact legislation for the common defense, including the creation of a standing army of 2,000 men. And that's the way it was 250 years ago this week. If you enjoyed this video, please tell a friend. And if you like what you see on this channel, make sure to like, share, and subscribe. You can also check us out on Facebook and Twitter, or X, as well as on Substack. Thank you for watching.